the top 5 2019 cards you need for Commander in black. Hey everyone, it's VM Campos, Magic fan of black cards, fan of Commander. So 2019 saw a variety of cards published in our favorite color, black. And so I'm going to pick the top 5 best that were published. But wait a minute, there were 162 cards published in 2019. How am I going to pick only 5? I'm going to cheat, which is exactly what black does. I'm going to cheat by having 5 types of cards that you need, and then 5 in each category. So the 5 types will be creature removal, board wipes, bomb creatures, graveyard recursion, and card draw. In those 5 categories, I'm going to pick 5 great cards. So we'll have 25 in total, and these are going to be only the cards published in 2019. So not standard. This is going to exclude some things that are not in standard that were not published in 2019. If you go back to full standard, you'll find a few more. Also, if you include Modern Horizons, the Commander precons, Brawl exclusives, there's a larger card pool. But let's go with cards published in 2019. Let's start with our first category, creature removal. Creature removal, at number 5, we've got Reeve Soul. This is a sorcery for only 2 mana, 1 and a black, destroy target creature with power 3 or less. So this is going to be perfect to take out your opponent's smaller creatures for only an outlay of 2 mana. Prices are very good at the moment, 4 cents. If you go back to the Magic Origins printing or Throne of Eldraine, 2 cents. The recent art is pretty epic. And so is the flavor text. Into amethyst I pour, envy's shadow, sorrow's gleam, lure the one whose scorn I bore, that I may hear one final scream. Barrow Witch incantation. Whoops, I think I just cursed someone. Number 4 is Epic Downfall, another 2 casting cost sorcery. This will exile target creature with converted mana cost of 3 or greater. So your opponent has some really big creatures, 2 mana will exile them. A lot of times in Commander, people can recur from the graveyard and bring their stuff back. Exile will help put a stop to that. So I'm going to get the Epic Downfall. It's number 4 in my list of the best creature removal in 2019. Plus this flavor text. The dragon had a lot of things going through his mind that day. He didn't expect a sword to be one of them. Hilarious. First printing is in Throne of Eldraine. This is an uncommon, 9 cents or so totally affordable. Snap it up. Moving over to instant removal. This is printed in Ravnik Allegiance, only 3 cents. This is a common. Grotesque Demise, 3 mana. Instant, exile target creature with power 3 or less. So your opponents might have some dinky little creatures in their decks that actually do a lot of big things, and they're never going to attack with those creatures, so Grotesque Demise at instant speed will really take care of them. Once you destroy their precious creature, you can also read this flavor text. A debtor's soul has little value, except as a warning to others who might consider defaulting on their loans, or daring to challenge you in Commander. The tastiest addition to this list, at number 2, is Bake Into a Pie. 5 cents, published in Throne of Eldraine. 4 mana, it's an instant, so that's a little bit better in that you can cast this whenever you want compared to some of the others I've mentioned. You destroy any creature, so there's no restriction on converted mana cost, power, toughness, whatever, and you get a food token. So food token, of course, can help prolong you in the game. You eat the food, you gain 3 life. Pretty epic art right there. Plus you create a food token for 4 mana, you bake them into a pie. Flavor text. My secret ingredient? Well, I can't tell you that, but here's a hint. It's not love. Oh, snap. And lastly, Murder. Good old Murder, printed at common. where it has been previously printed at uncommon. You've got this epic art here. Destroy target creature. Instant. 3 mana. It does require double black, but if you're playing a mono black commander, that's no problem at all. By fate or by will, every reign must come to an end. Thus spake Kethis, the hidden hand. Very tricky. Okay, next up, the other type of card that I've picked here is a board wipe. Now this one wasn't as plentiful as I would have liked in black cards that were published in 2019, so I bent the rules a little bit here. We've got Liliana's Triumph. Instant spell, 2 mana. This is from War of the Spark. 13 cents only. What you get is each opponent sacrifices a creature. If you control a Liliana Planeswalker, each opponent also discards a card. Okay, so you get more action out of this if you've also got a Liliana Planeswalker. But at the minimum, the floor of this is that each opponent sacrifices a creature. Not a complete board wipe, but you're going to wipe out at least 1 creature from all of your opponents. And some opponents are running, creatureless decks perhaps that have just 1 creature, their commander. So okay, it's gone. Not a full board wipe, but pretty good nonetheless. One of the coolest recent edict effects. So Liliana's Triumph is number 5 in my board wipes. Number 4 is the Cry of the Carnarium from Ravnica Allegiance. 27 cents, uncommon. Sorcery. All creatures get -2/-2 until end of turn. Exile all creatures in all graveyards that were put there from the battlefield this turn. If a creature would die this turn, exile it instead. Okay, there's a lot going on here, but the main thing that most people focus on is a -2/-2 to all creatures. So goodbye many of those mana dorks that your opponent is using to carefully build their board state. Be careful, your own creatures are going to get hurt as well. And be even more careful about your own creatures because everything gets exiled. Everything that gets exiled at that moment and throughout the rest of the turn gets exiled. Small price to pay to wipe your opponent's board, to weaken your opponent's big creatures. Cry of the Carnarium, amazing art. And if your ears bleed, it's a party. If your eyes bleed, it's a Rakdos party. Next up, Witch's Vengeance. Brand new Throne of Eldraine card. This is a rare. It's about $1.50. I love this card. 1 black sorcery. Creatures of the creature type of your choice get -3/-3 until end of turn. -3/-3. This is a really cool board wipe that we got printed in 2019. Pick your opponent's elves, they're gone. Pick your opponent's merfolk, they're gone. Pick elementals, pick zombies. Oh, those 2/2 zombies, they're gone. -3/-3 to only those creatures. Love this card so much, but it's only number 3. What could be better than this? Flavor text. The Hex swept through the village, its citizens falling one by one. Epic flavor text. Okay, I bent my rules again. This was published in Modern Horizons, so it's not a standard card, but it fits into Commander, and it was published in 2019. This is a reprint from the old card from Visions, which is 48 cents. Now get the Modern Horizons one for 17 cents. Okay, this is a creature, a board wipe on a creature. For 3 mana, 2 and a black, you get a 1/1 rat with an X activated ability. Crypt Rats deals X damage to each creature and each player, but you can only spend black mana on X. No problem, I'm running a mono black commander or a black focused commander, I can spare that. It's going to kill itself, no problem. The big idea is that it's going to kill so many of your opponent's creatures, especially later on in the game. Dump 5 black mana into this, no problem. That's a huge board wipe. Better yet, it's a player wipe. At a certain point when things are getting pretty low, pump in, 9, 10 black mana into this. A lot of your opponents are going to fall after that. They'll be trying to say, "Shoo, you little wormtails, go away. My corpses aren't your dinner." You're going to be saying that your opponents are the corpses of the dinner of those wormtails. You get what I'm talking about. And lastly, another board wipe on a creature. Now this is the #1 best board wipe published in 2019. Massacre Girl. 3 black for a legendary creature, Human Assassin. She's a 4/4 herself. She's got Menace. Love those stats. But then, check it out. When Massacre Girl enters the battlefield, each other creature gets -1 and -1 until end of turn. Whenever a creature dies this turn, each creature other than Massacre Girl gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So those puny creatures are dead, which then causes another -1/-1, which makes the next stronger creatures dead, which causes another -1/-1, which makes the next one and the next one on and on. And even if you get up to -10/-10, it's never going to hurt Massacre Girl herself. Amazing board wipe. Next turn, your opponent has nothing. You have a 4/4 with Menace, and even if they slowly start to recuperate, you've got a 4/4 Menace. And this card is only about 60 cents. Therefore, it's the #1 board wipe on the list. The next type of card is my bomb creatures category. These are the creatures that are going to make your opponent just pee themselves when this creature comes out. Okay, so here we've got the Rotting Regisaur. 3 mana for a 7/6. Amazing. I love that. You'll be able to get this little critter out really fast, this zombie dinosaur, and you're swinging in at 7/6. Be careful though, because it comes with a clause. At the beginning of your upkeep, discard a card. Now remember, it's untap, upkeep, draw. So you're going to discard a card, but then you're going to draw. And as you empty out your hand, well, it's going to be eating nothing while it's chomping down on your opponents. And they'll be saying, now that's a zombie. So riddle me this. What is an 8/8, has trample and haste, and is a troll? Why, the Clackbridge Troll, published in Throne of Eldraine. This creature for 5 mana is an 8/8 with trample and haste? Okay, what's the downside? The downside is when Clackbridge Troll enters the battlefield, target opponent creates 3 0/1 white goat creature tokens. Okay, so you give your opponent some blockers, but wait a minute. At the beginning of combat on your turn, any opponent may sacrifice a creature. If a player does, tap the troll, you gain 3 life and you draw a card. Okay, so as long as they're sacrificing their creatures like those goats that you gave them, they will not be attacked with an 8/8. But you gain 3 life and you draw a card. Yes, please. Free cards, more life. And eventually, when they don't have any more creatures to block with, here comes an 8/8 coming at you with trample. This card is at about $1.88 with epic art and very cute goats. Number 3 in my bomb creatures list is Cavalier of Night. This is such an amazing card. I love this so much. This is 5 mana for a 4/5 with lifelink. Okay, you're going to be gaining a lot of life with this little guy. When it enters the battlefield, you may sacrifice another creature. When you do, destroy target creature an opponent controls. So you've got one of your little peons over here. The Cavalier comes in with his amazing scythe, cuts down your own creature, and destroys their creature. Love it. But then wait a minute. When it dies, return target creature card with converted mana cost of 3 or less from the graveyard to your battlefield. Perhaps bring back that Rotting Regisaur that was struck down from before? Sure thing. Now this is one of the most expensive cards I've mentioned so far. This is about $7.60 or so. It's just an amazing card. It's one of the bomb creatures of my picking, but it's only 3 out of 5. Let's see the next ones. At number 2 is God Eternal Bontu. Oh, Bontu, you betrayed everyone and now you're a God Eternal. Anyway, this is a 3 and black 5/6 legendary creature, zombie god. This is a menace creature as well, so you better have blockers for this. When it enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of other permanents, then draw that many cards. So you can have, again, Bontu betraying, but also helping by killing some of your own things, any permanent you want, even lands, and then drawing cards off of that. And then, of course, this is the Gods of War of the Spark, where once you kill it, it put it back onto your library, 3 from the top, so it'll keep coming back over and over. Not very expensive at $2.95, so this is a great one to have for your commander deck. And then the number 1 bomb creature on the list is Villis, Broker of Blood. For a whopping 8 mana, you get an 8/8, which is flying, and a legendary creature, Demon. This was published in Corsa 2020. Okay, besides flying 8/8, what do you get? Black, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. So this could also be some removal built into a creature at the cost of life. But wait a minute, whenever you lose life, draw that number of cards. So in a commander game, when you've got a lot of life at your starting point, you'll be able to put a lot of life into Villas to wipe out these creatures and then also draw cards. Even if you never use his ability, 8/8 Flyer is really going to make your opponents think twice in challenging you. And for only about $1.34, totally affordable. And remember, Villas would say, you can sign or you can spend your life imagining what might have been yours. So give me that life. The next category is Graveyard Recursion. So I just talked about a bunch of great creatures, but what if you lose them? You've only got one of each in a commander deck, right? Well, if you have some of these Recursion cards that were printed in 2019, these creatures will be back for more. Starting off with number 5, Blood for Bones. 4 mana, sorcery. This is printed in Corset 2020 and it's only about 20 cents. It's an uncommon. As an additional cost to cast a spell, sacrifice a creature. Return 1 creature from your graveyard to the battlefield, then return another one from your graveyard to your hand. So this card gives you back 2 creatures for the price of 1 straight into the battlefield and 1 back into your hand. Imagine casting for free that Villas. What if you somehow get Villas into the graveyard? You've got 1 creature and 4 mana, now you've got Villas back on the battlefield. Amazing, with totally amazing Seb McKinnon artwork. Next up, the Cauldron's Gift from Throne of Eldraine. 5 mana sorcery. You may choose a creature card in your graveyard. If you do, return it to the battlefield with an additional +1 counter on it. Okay, so bring back again something from the graveyard right into the battlefield, and it comes back with a +1/+1 counter. Very nice. So bring back anything that's fallen in there. Or if you pay Adamant cost. If you're playing mono black, easy to do, Adamant. If at least 3 black mana is spent to cast a spell, put the top 4 cards of your library into your graveyard. So in there will probably be some creatures, maybe some high casting cost creatures that you can cast already on turn 5, like Villas, or any other huge creatures, and bring them back into the battlefield, put more stuff on the graveyard for more creature recursion, which we'll get to. I can't believe this card is only 2 cents at the moment. It's uncommon, and I think it'll go really good in a mono black commander deck. Okay, what's better than bringing a creature back from your graveyard to the battlefield? How about doing it with haste? Bond of Revival. 5 mana from War of the Spark, 8 cents. Return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. It gains haste until your next turn. So cool, I love this, and I love the War of the Spark allied sorts of spells where the different guilds came together. Here we have a Rakdos Performer plus a Golgari Tender. I love how their logos kind of intertwine together, and they then allow you to bring back a creature with haste out of your graveyard. Today we throw off the yoke of death. Either this is an affirmation of the eternal cyclical nature of life, or it's just hilarious, depending on which of us you ask. Moving on to Command the Dread Horde. This is a 6 mana sorcery from War of the Spark. It's a rare, it's only 41 cents. Choose any number of target creature and or planeswalker cards in all graveyards. Command the Dread Horde deals damage to you equal to the total CMC of those cards, and then put those cards into the battlefield under your control. So basically steal from any graveyard any creature you want, or bring back your own creature straight into the battlefield for just a little loss of life. To really flex on fools, spend a lot of life on bringing as many creatures as you can, maybe going yourself down to 1 life, but you have everything on the board, and then proceed to kill everyone. Because just like Liliana, you will have seized the reins of Bolas's vast army, and you can grit your teeth behind the chain veil. Lastly, number 1 creature recursion is the Cauldron of Eternity. This is a mythic rare card from Throne of Eldraine, so it's about $5. And this costs 10 black. This costs 12 mana. But wait a minute, all of the legendary artifacts from Throne of Eldraine have a cost reduction. This spell costs 2 less for each creature card in your graveyard. Okay, it's not so bad. You've got 5 dead things in the graveyard. This is only 2 black. There's a little downside here. Whenever a creature you control dies, put it at the bottom of its owner's library. So this won't continue to fill your graveyard. So this might be something you do later on in the game once you've got a healthy amount of things in your graveyard, because then 2 and a black, and you pay 2 life, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. You can only do this on your turn, but you'll be able to cast for 3 mana your best creatures out of your graveyard that have been filling it up throughout the whole game. And even if you have to pay 12 mana for that, really late in the game, you're going to save so much on bringing those creatures back from the graveyard. And lastly, the 5th type of card that was published in 2019 that you've got to have in your commander deck if you're a black player is card draw. So first we've got Scheming Symmetry. There haven't been any good tutors in black printed in a little while. This one's pretty interesting. This is a single black. This is published in Core Set 2020. It's $2. Choose 2 target players. Each of them searches their library for 1 card, then shuffles their library and puts it on top. Okay, this is perfect politics shenanigans. Form an alliance with someone on the table and say, hey, how about you get to go search for a card to help me kill them, and I'll search one too for 1 black mana. They'll say yes. So you go get your best card of all, they get their best card, and we team up against someone else. You've got to have a good alliance with people for this to work, because they're going to be able to get any card they want, plus you get whatever card you want for 1 black mana. 1 for you, 1 for me. What could be more fair? Kethis, there he is again, with his shenanigans. So Scheming Symmetry. Another sort of alliance building or breaking card is the Wishclaw Talisman. This is an artifact for 1 and a black. This is rare, Throne of Eldraine, about 370. Wishclaw Talisman enters the battlefield with 3 wish counters on it. 1 and a tap. Remove a wish counter from the talisman. Search your library for a card, put it into your hand, then shuffle. Next, an opponent gains control of Wishclaw Talisman, and activate this ability only on your turn. So at sorcery speed, only during your turn can you do this. And then after this happens, you have to pass this card on to someone else on the table. Again, making an alliance, saying, I'll get my best card, you get your best card, and we'll team up against them. Now, this can happen 3 times. You'll get 2 activations out of it, and your opponent will get only 1, so that's cool. Now, what you can also do, if you have some way to bounce it back before it fully resolves, you can take the wish and then bounce it back to yourself and do it again without having to give the wish to someone else. Now, these are also counters, if there were only some way to increase the number of counters on a permanent. When you need just some plain old card draw, no tutoring or shenanigans with opponents, how about a Foreboding Fruit? 3 mana sorcery. Target player draws 2 cards and loses 2 life. So that's easy. You're going to have plenty of life. You're going to draw 2 cards, see what good stuff you get. But wait a minute, if you play this for Adamant cost, so 3 black mana, you also create a food token. So that life loss of 2 actually becomes a net gain of 1 once you eventually eat that fruit. Wonderful artwork right there by Drew Baker. I kind of want to take a bite out of that pear. It's going to hurt me, but I'm going to draw some more cards. The number 2 card is Bankrupt in Blood for 2 mana, sorcery. This is from Ravnica Allegiance, 7 cents. As an additional cost to cast the spell, sacrifice 2 creatures. Okay, so you've got to have 2 little peons first, but then after that you get 3 cards. What about if you somehow stole your opponent's creatures and they are willingly then sacrificed to get you more cards? I'm all for that. Once you send those creatures that you borrowed back to the graveyard, you can say, your spirits can rest in peace, for your debts are paid. Again, epic art by Seb McKinnon. And lastly, the number 1 card draw spell that was printed for black players in 2019 is the Dread Presence. This is a nightmare creature. It's a 3/3, and it is summoned for 4. So, whenever a swamp enters the battlefield under your control, choose 1. You draw a card, you lose 1 life, or Dread Presence deals 2 damage to any target and you gain 2 life. Okay, so simply for playing a swamp, from now on, you draw a card. Amazing. If you can play one more swamp per turn, even more amazing. If you're not playing Commander and you can get 4 of these little guys on the field and you drop 1 land, you draw 4 cards. Amazing. The Dread Presence is one of my favorite cards that was printed in 2019, especially for card draw. That's why I picked it number 1. Amazing art by Anthony Palumbo, and the flavor text is, "It beckons silently, waiting in the darkness." Epic. So there you go. Those were the cards that were printed in 2019 that would be great for a Commander deck if you like to play the best color of all, black. What did I miss? What do you recommend that I check out in those 5 categories of mine? Creature removal, board wipes, bomb creatures, graveyard recursion, and card draw. There's a lot to choose from that was published. 162 cards this year, and if you even go back to the beginning of Standard, you'll have more to pick. And if you go with Modern Horizons, the Brawl Precon decks, and the Commander 2019, there's even more. And what about all of the mystery booster cards? And even Secret Lair. There's just so many great cards to choose from in the best color of all. This has been VM Campos. See you in the swamps.